Hi and welcome back. I am so glad you are here. Before we jump in, I just want to quickly share something I'm really excited about. I'm opening the door soon to a new program, Rebirth. It's for anyone who's been feeling disconnected from themselves or unsure about their next step, whether in life, career, or just finding your own sense of clarity again. I will tell you more later in the episode, but if you already know this speaks to you, you can reach out to me any of my social media channels or through my website www.mariagoach.com to learn how to join. Now let's get into today's conversation. Hi, Uschi, welcome. How
Hi
are
there.
you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Happy Friday. I'm so excited you are here with me today, and I'm so grateful that you took the time to come to my live stream, to my podcast to tell your story. So, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I usually start with a little introduction of the guest. So let me introduce everyone, Ushi, to you. So welcome everyone. And today I'm so happy to be joined by Uschi Baumann. Uschi is originally from Germany, but she lives in the UK with her husband and her two sons. And she spent over 20 years of time and working in the corporate world until the time she came close to burnout. And that made her take the brave decision and make a change and change her career and move into the coaching field. And now she is the one supporting leaders to really learn how to lead in a new, different way. And I love having her today, not just because we actually work in a very similar field and with similar people, but also because we actually studied neuroscience together with Ushi and we became quite close to each other. So this conversation just feels so much special today with Ushi. So thank you so much for joining me, Ushi.
Thank you so much. So kind for you to have me, Maria. I'm absolutely delighted to be here.
So, Ushi, I have mentioned in the intro that you spent over 20 years in the corporate world, and I would like you just take us a little bit back to the time because I think your days looked quite different than it looks today within the coaching field. So, if we could just go back a little bit in time and you could walk us through how was it in the corporate world for you?
Yeah, very different, right? So very fast paced. It was pressured environment. It was one thing that was a constant was change. So that corporate world was riddled with continuous change, transformation, and so on and so forth. Um, And one thing that I noticed was that the massive influence of the organizational culture or the team that I worked in really had on my ability to bring out my best. It was full of ups and downs, of course. I mean, there was loads of opportunity to grow, to learn, solve problems, make an impact, right?
Right.
But at the same time, it was quite hard to keep all the balls in the air at the same time, right? It's particularly, you mentioned I've got two sons. When family came to the table, it was a lot harder to really juggle, right? And to keep everything afloat, as they say.
I totally understand. I mean, it's not a secret that I worked in corporate too, so I totally understand what you're mentioning and saying, especially when the family comes into the picture. It's just, it really changes the whole game. And it's just like, okay, what is that? What do I really want? Where do I want to spend most of my time? How can I manage this? How I spend my energy? It's just a whole different game. And you also mentioned, or you told me, and I mentioned in the intro that you got to the point where you work, and in that period of your life, you came close to burnout, and that
Yeah.
was kind of the feeling I got. That was kind of like your ticking point to change. So can you tell us a little bit about what were the signs that okay, oh my God, something's is going in the wrong direction?
Now, there's the interesting bit is right that it creeps up on you, and you don't really realize because it's really slow and progressive. And and from a day-to-day perspective, you might not notice much. And that's something, in hindsight is always a beautiful thing. But as you build up to it, it took quite a while for me to get to that point. And looking back, it's very hard to notice in the moment because you're so in your day-to-day grind. You're on that treadmill. You're going and you're going, right? And one little bit comes, and the next big thing comes. But afterwards, it's much easier to think back and saying, actually, what caused this, and what's contributed to it. Maybe a couple of things that stood out or stands out now that I look back. And one is really sort of external and the other one is internal, right? So the external part is finding yourself in an environment that becomes increasingly difficult, sometimes political, sometimes even a little bit toxic. Yes. But what I noticed now is that what happened there is that the environment was just not aligned with my personal values anymore. It felt like swimming upstream in a fast-flowing river and, spending more effort than what it was worth because I was so trying to hold on to that personal value set, and I found that very hard. So that was the external side, right? But then also the internal side, own ways of and own beliefs, right? That belief of, having to clench down your teeth and just fight through. Asking your help was almost like showing a sign of weakness or, bad leadership. And that belief that was really sort of deeply ingrained of working harder, and that would, working harder would make it better, would course correct, yet it didn't, right? So, and looking back, one of the things that I noticed more and more is how I became the kind of leader, mother, wife, friend that I didn't want to be anymore. Right? That wasn't who I wanted to be.
I love the example that you gave that it's just like swimming up, like how did you say it, in the river, like it's in a floating river in a very high speed floating river from the other direction, and it's really like, and now that you close it with, I started to become the person I didn't want it to be, like you were just trying so hard to swim up on that river, like whatever it takes, like really like turning out from yourself, like starting to become a person that I don't even like anymore.
Yeah.
That's just such a good like comparison to it, that how it actually feels. And I think it's so important to mention here also with burnout, like when you are getting close to burnout the very first time in your life, it's first of all very hard to realize that that's as you mentioned, that this is happening to you, because you have to be strong, you have to solve this, you have to be the leader, you are weak, just all of that you said. It's so true, and I felt that in my own burnout as well. And you really don't want to believe that, hey, something's wrong with me, like that can't. But I'm so glad that you were able to catch it, to find that moment, to being like, okay, if I don't turn back from here, it's going to cause bigger issues than it already has, and it's going to take more from me. So can you tell us a little bit about this moment when you realize that, okay, something has to change, otherwise it's just going to cost me everything?
Yeah. And there was a very, very specific moment in time. I remember it was March. It's incredible how these moments just stick in your brain, right? It was March.
Yes.
It was a Monday morning, and I woke up and I wasn't ill, but I could not get out of bed. The only thing I was hoping for is just for that mattress to swallow me up and to not let me go. I just couldn't face the daily reality, and it took me a whole week. And even, the other thing that stood out to me afterwards is there was actually colleagues reaching out because they didn't know me like that. It was unheard of that I wouldn't be in contact, that I wouldn't be in touch. There was literally a week of just shutting myself out of everything. And that's when at the end of that week, I made that decision, got to do something. And the following week I handed in my notice.
That's such a brave step. Like right away being like, okay, this is not me. I'm handing in my notice. I have to change. And I think this is such a brave step to put being able to put yourself first
Yeah.
and to really quiet those voices in your head that I'm failing, I'm not a good leader, I'm not good enough, and be like, no, I'm just putting myself first. So,
Yeah.
how did that change the way you approach or look at leadership? Because you mentioned at the beginning, like that you were going on a very high speed, pushing, I can do this. I'm a leader who's not asking for help because that's weakness. Coming to the point where saying, no, I'm more important to myself and I'm just going for myself, which is a very rare thing to do in this case, for a lot of people.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I have to say, credit where credit is due, just to finish that thought off, I had a really supportive family. My kids were there. My husband was super supportive. He actually said to me, finally. Yeah, he allowed me to sort of make my own experience, but he's actually said, I'm so glad you're doing this. And now to your question around, how did that, what changed in my perspective of leadership? I think what is really important for me when I look back to that is how my perspective shifted from that external expectation to the internal. How does leadership actually feel? Leadership that is aligned actually feel, right? The humanness of it, the how who do I want to be as a leader, and how can I be in alignment with my values when I show up. And somebody said to me once, and I thought that was so insightful, feedback is super, super important and very valuable to grow, but there is also choice in feedback, right? And it is
Right.
about somebody else giving you a perspective of, they want you to be a little bit more like them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And when, learning and growing and so on and so forth, but it's not about becoming somebody else, but it's taking on from that feedback of what fits me, what is the shoe that I want to wear, and what am I taking on? That's my choice.
Exactly.
That's important. Mm-hmm.
It is difficult. And I mean, I was talking about this on my masterclass yesterday that all of
Mm-hmm.
those outside voices that we hear, like what is, it's sometimes really hard to separate what is that I want, what is my voice telling to me? Like, am I living my dreams? Am I living someone else's expectations?
Yeah.
Am I a leader the way I want to be or how others expect to me? And really finding the difference can be very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And this is why I love so much in your work as well, that you blend so many things. You blend neuroscience, you blend cultural intelligence, you really pay attention to the human side of leadership and coaching. You bring in your own lived corporate experience into your coaching. So can you tell us a little bit, how did all of this come together for you to blend all of this in your work?
Yeah. And you said it yourself, it's the human, bringing the human into the center, right? Seeing people for who they are, for their background, for what they bring, for human neuroscience. The important bit about neuroscience is that it explains, it gives context, it gives it helps you understand. I'm a big believer in, when you understand why certain things happen the way they are, it allows in choice, right? And then so neuroscience brings that clarity, and then the cultural intelligence brings in the appreciation of different backgrounds, different. I mean, we all have our own biases, right? But
Yeah.
as long as I am open to actually noticing what is different in other people. I also notice what makes my biases mine, my cultural background. I grew up in Germany, right? And that's influenced me. My family has influenced me. My upbringing at school and all those things, they all add and they create a frame of reference. And then my work creates a frame of reference, right?
Yeah.
And bringing all those things together just help make sense. And they're almost like they're building blocks that fit together really nicely.
And just as you mentioned, like you're from Germany, you live in the UK, totally different culture. I also know you're married to a totally different person, a person from a totally different culture. You're really mixing all these different cultures. You work with so many clients across the globe. So I'm wondering what your experience is about leadership that what within all of this different culture, how does leadership look different or what's universal about it if you can differentiate them? Or
Yeah.
what is so similar across cultures and what's really typically different?
Uh, I think what is the big difference comes to the interaction with people, right? Leadership, a lot of it is about meeting the person where they're at. But then it also means I need to know where I am. I need to know where the others are, what their frame of reference is. So it's about moving towards them and meeting them where they're at, right? And then when
Yeah.
you can also then get a better sense for how I need to show up as a leader with somebody from a different cultural backdrop, where the universal side of it is I would call it the intention behind leadership. I think that's universal. What's my
Mm-hmm.
intention behind it? My intention, my version of leadership is about relationship building, trust building, connecting, inspiring, motivating, pursuing excellence. Those are the kinds of things that are universal in leadership. But how we do that in the frame of the different, it's like different puzzle pieces. You put them
Yeah.
together, and at the end, they make a beautiful picture.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it makes me think, and I wonder if I think of your journey and your career that you work in corporate, you sit on the other side of the table, let's say it that way. Like you were leading, you were making decisions, you were running projects, you were deciding. Now that you decided to change careers, sit on the other side and support all those people that do what you used to. But then you have to work with them differently. You have to change your leadership. That what was the hardest part about this to let this side of the leader of you go to telling what to do and sitting on the other side and supporting them with questions and guiding them and being a coach, being a mentor, because it's so different.
Yeah. So the thing is, right, this old style of leadership that I was in, that I've experienced, that I've learned, that I thought was the right way, is all about often, at least how I experience it, is all about the I. It's like, how am I showing up and how am I leading? Where the way that I see leadership now, and also in my coaching, is it's the we. How do we build the partnership? How do we bring perspectives together? It is that hand in glove. It's that question answer. It's that thinking partnership. It's the empowerment of the other person, and it's not about how successful am I.
Yeah.
Yeah, a very different perspective, right? It's sometimes people also call it servant leadership, right? How can I serve you in your leadership?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And what surprised the most of yourself when you did the career change? Like if you look back and remember like at the beginning when you left the corporate, you entered the coaching where you created your own business, you started to work with leaders. Was there a point where you'd be like, oh my God, I'm really surprised, but I'm super excited and proud of myself for this?
Um, would probably say that it took my self-worth to a next level. It took my confidence to the next level. It took that alignment with myself to the next level. I think before it was probably more about the, where am I not good enough yet? Where do I need to work faster? Where do I need to make up of? It's almost like the thinking of lack, where this way of being is a lot more about, what do I bring? What's the value I add to the other person? How can we, in that partnership, create impact? And it's this very simple thing applied: 1 + 1 = 3. Right? There is that. I am not a big fan of the word synergy, but there is, in a way. Yeah, and it's that sense of more fulfillment in the whole thing. It feels a lot fuller. It feels right. I get up in the morning and I'm excited.
It really feels like you. Like this is what I comes across when you're telling, like, I am me. I am so me. And I just represent myself 100%. And I'm feeling good in my body. I'm feeling good in my soul. It's just all connected and it's just all running in a perfect way. And what you just said before, it's like, it's not the I, it's the we.
Mm-hmm.
It's the team. Like now you found your place.
Yes.
And this energy really comes across while you are telling it, that you really find your, if I can say so, your true calling.
Yeah.
What you were meant to do. And if from this very fulfilled, happy place of I'm in the right place, on the right track for myself, you look back on your older self or younger self, we can say, when you were in corporate and you thought, this is my way, I'm going to work here, I'm going to be such a successful in the business. What would you tell your younger self back at that time?
So I would say a few things to my younger self. The first thing is regularly pause, stop, and reflect. Make time for that, and that time that you're allowing yourself to allows you to say what's important for you. Who do you want to be as a leader? Really connecting to that self, right? And maybe also self-kindness, and that's probably something that is probably an important message to everybody out there. When you've made that change, that old experience is still there. So sometimes you get pulled back into that, and then be compassionate with yourself and saying it's okay. So sometimes you fall back into that old habit, especially when you get triggered, when you're tired, when you lack of energy. You fall back to those old unwanted patterns, and then be compassionate with yourself and saying, actually, it's okay to do that, but recognize it and come back.
I love that. And also, like, I think that's already a win once you recognize that, right?
Yes.
That's already being one step ahead than you were before, because now you recognize I'm doing a pattern here. I'm doing something that comes automatically because I'm bringing this from whatever you're bringing, trauma, experience, difficult times. We could go on and on for hours where we are bringing stuff, right? But also, like, don't be, what you just said, don't be angry with yourself, because all of those that you did taught you something, and you are now here because of all of those experiences. And I think I wanted to ask you, what would you tell to someone who is in this situation of maybe being close to burnout in corporate, like what should they hear? But I think this is just so beautifully said, what you said right now, that what you would tell your younger self, that I think this is what everyone should take away. It's like, go ask yourself, connect with yourself, what do I really want? Don't put extra pressure on yourself.
Mm.
I love that. And what would you suggest? What is maybe one powerful practice you could tell us or suggest to leaders to do who are maybe on the breaking point or who want to reconnect with their really true authentic self? What could they do as an easy practice?
Mm. And it is about this pausing and reflecting, right? And it is making room once it really is down to you how often, but make room in your diary, in your day. It could be once, it could be twice, whatever you need to take an intentional pause, to step off that treadmill and to say, okay, let's put things back into perspective here. And maybe ask yourself the question, what is really important here and now? So that intentional mission, schedule it in, make that room, and give yourself that permission to do that.
Oh, I love that. So powerful. It's so easy, but so powerful and so important.
Yeah.
And I love that this also like really like I feel it through your story. Like I found your story very powerful from being in the corporate, working so hard. I mean, I think many people who work in the corporate knows what this feels and what this means. Like things haven't changed that much in the corporate world from the point of view that the ethics, the work ethics and the work moral, I think it just became even more with COVID, with all those difficulties that people are now working even more than before, longer hours. They're so scared losing of their jobs and really they put themselves and their needs to the last in the
Absolutely.
line. And then burnout is rising. Burnout numbers are rising incredibly. People are struggling, and to really like, hey, just take the time to connect with yourself every day a little bit. Like, put it in your calendar. Just do it. It's gonna make such a big difference. Like how you did in your story, like you took that 1 week off. You be like, okay, now I have to thought this through. Like, what is going on? And it's amazing you had this very supportive family, like really looking out for you. And it's so important when you are in this really big change of your life that you have these people backing you up, that you can
Absolutely.
back yourself up and
Yeah.
then take the chance and be like, no, you know what? I'm just fully changing my career. I'm changing my life. I'm changing my identity, the way I work, everything around me. That is such a brave move, and I think this is what really makes a person and people unstoppable. And this is what I really like about this podcast, sharing all of these stories, because I really think we give the energy and we give the empowerment to others that you can do things differently and it can turn out so amazing, so powerful, and you will feel better than ever. So for the final question, Uschi, what does being unstoppable mean to you?
Unstoppable, from the perspective of where I am today,
Yes.
um, for me, it is about keeping moving, keeping growing, finding things that stimulate me, that excite me. And speed doesn't matter so much as long as it's sustainable, fulfilling, and aligned with who I am. And just to bring in this old, I mean, it's a metaphor that we hear so often, but it is so true. It is about that own oxygen mask. If you don't look after yourself, you can't be the best version, neither for yourself nor for those around you. If you want to
Exactly.
give those around you your best self, you also need to put that oxygen mask on.
Just take care of yourself, put yourself first so you can support others as well. I love that, Yushi. Thank you so much. One more final question. If people would like to get in touch with you, how can they reach you, Yushi?
So you can, the best bet, I'm most active on LinkedIn. So if you just look me up under Uschi Baumann, you can find me. I'm also on Instagram with Uschi Rethink Coaching. And you can find my website. I'm redoing my website at the moment, but the old one is still up. So stay tuned for the new version soon. It's called
Exciting.
www.rethinkcc.co.uk. That stands for coaching and consulting. rethinkcc.co.uk.
Thank you very much, Ushi. And thank you so much for joining me today, sharing your story, sharing these tips. I loved it. It was amazing. I think it was so helpful and useful for people, not only in the corporate world, because I think everyone can relate to this in their own field. This can be if you're running your own business, if you are in the healthcare, everywhere, because burnout is on a rise. It's more important than ever, and really to find yourself and connect with yourself. This is for everyone. It's important for everyone. So thank you, Ushi. I really appreciate you being here. I loved our conversation today, and I wish you a wonderful weekend.
Thank you so much, Maria, for having me. I've really enjoyed it, and you are a superstar for bringing that conversation to the world because it's important to be heard. Yeah.
Thank you, Ushi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.